When it comes to culture wars, and if we go back to 1980s and Margaret Thatcher famously with her, this country is being swamped by people of different cultures and different backgrounds, I think we saw that the new right was incredibly powerful at that time, accusing Labour authorities of political correctness because they were trying to bring in basic anti-racist measures or measures that actually did benefit women, lesbian and gay communities. But I think the thing is, if we don't historically contextualise this argument, we could end up with a view that actually mirrors the far-right view, which is that the white working class have been left behind, that white working class are the victims of political correctness, too much anti-racism, too much concern of women. Whereas I think that is being deliberately manipulated, that the element, of course, there is an element of truth in this. There is an element of truth, definitely. Deindustrialisation in northern towns have obliterated working class culture. But I think we have to start from the point of view that why are people racialising the working class? Why are these people like the hard right of the Conservative Party, new right thinkers like Douglas Murray, Roger Scruton? They're always very, very upper middle class men who are actually starting from positions which are culturally conservative or racist, using white working class men as the mouthpiece for their views. And they're racialising the working class when they're always telling us, the anti-racists, that we're always racialising the working class. They are racialising the working class. We have to start from the starting point that our working class is multicultural. And actually, there are huge elements of the working class in our country who live in multicultural societies, who live happily and contentedly and well together, except that the divisions are constantly stoked, I think, by the right.
Well, I agree with the bulk of what Liz had to say there. I think, for me, lots of working class people are now moving towards right-wing political causes because there hasn't been a left-wing narrative that explains their socioeconomic position.
I'm not forgiving them or vindicating them for this, but can you understand why they're doing that?
Absolutely, yeah. The racism exists as a timeless narrative to explain any problem you might encounter.
Have the far right then used divide and rule, divide and conquer, which has then pushed these people towards those political choices?
I think the working class people who've drifted to the right have dipped into that lingua franca, that language that is offered by the far right as a means of explaining their downward mobility in socioeconomic terms.
Has that been a cynical ploy on the behalf of the right to maintain power?
I don't think it's been kind of orchestrated by some shadowy far-right figures. I think rather in terms of a general ideology, racism always exists in the background. It can always be used, dipped into, when you're frustrated with your socioeconomic position, you're frustrated at the dissolution of your community. You can dip into these narratives to explain any problem. But it's the absence of a more progressive account of those problems which allows these narratives to come to the fore. If you look at the Labour Party from the 1980s onwards, it's the acceptance that this is just the depoliticisation of capitalism. It's just the economy. The only thing that we can do is manipulate interest rates or perhaps tax wealth to a greater extent, and that's all we've got. Those are the only tools we've got. It was a myth then, it's a myth now. We need to much broaden out this debate and utilise the tools of the state to try and address some of those problems which are really quite extreme in particular communities.